To begin my presentation, I would like to introduce to you a few individuals who inspire me.
Well, I'm doing so good now.
But Alex tells us before he got the arm.
Some people would say, what happened to your arm? How did that happen? Or all that bad stuff. I don't like it.
Well, we'd stand up in front of the class, this was when I was 5 years old, and then I would talk about my arm. I would take it off and I would show it to them, and I thought it was so cool. I never thought there was an issue with my arm. And then I met kids, and I met other adults, and I started to realize that everyone doesn't think this is as cool as I do. You know, I have kids that were afraid of me. I had a kid that cried when I took off my arm.
Trying to wrap my head and my heart around everything that happened. To this day, I still have nights where I'm crying because I'm frustrated with everything. You know, I grab my leg and it's not there anymore.
Hello, my name is Nicholas McKinley, and I am a rising senior at Capstone Academy and the president of Paulding County's Senior 4-H Club. And today we will be redefining superheroes and understanding how technology can affect a person's mental, physical, and social development. Today I'll be talking about the human side of bionics, my personal journey through the subject, the statistical data, technology and its impact that it can have on an individual's lifestyle, and I'll also introduce to you a few modern-day superheroes. Now, ever since I've been a young boy, I've had a huge interest in robotics. Whether I was building things with Lincoln Logs or Legos, and I was always looking things up on the internet. Although, when I was 4 years old, my family and I would watch a show where a family had adopted a bunch of young children who were missing limbs. Because of this, doctors had given them simplistic prosthetic limbs. And it was after this that I stopped, turned to my mom, and said I would make robotic limbs for children just like these. Next, when I was 9 years old, my family and I went to Georgia Tech, the Center for Prosthetic and Orthotic Research, where I met Mr. Robert Kistenberg, who taught me everything I would need to know about prosthetics. Although it was after hearing these few words from my current mentor that I started to gain an interest into the human side of prosthetics.
But for me, it's the technological side which intrigues me. But the human side is really what it's all about. To interact with the human and to read the body language as a person. Because I can have the best technologies in the world, but I can't get into that person's head and coach them and mentor them and feel good about themselves. They'll stay depressed and never get up and do.
This man is Kevin Carroll, who is an Irish prosthetist who is the vice president of Hanger Prosthetics. You all may know Mr. Carroll through the movie Dolphin Tale, where he creates a prosthetic limb for a dolphin. It was after this interview that I started to look into the statistics of prosthetics, where globally there are 1 million annual limb amputations, and in the United States there are 2.1 million people living with limb loss. The estimated cost is $12 billion, and there is over 1,500 military personnel who suffer from limb loss due to the wars in Afghanistan. Although the main thing that we have to realize is that each of these numbers is an individual person, and that there are 2.1 million people living with limb loss in the United States, and that this number is projected to double by 2050. And around 30% of people with limb loss experience some form of depression or anxiety. To put this number into perspective, this is bigger than the entire population of Atlanta. At the beginning of my presentation, we heard from Christianis, and on the 1-year anniversary of her helicopter accident, she tried to end her own life. Although the main thing that we have to realize is that even though these people may look different from us, each of them is a mother, father, son, and daughter, and that each of them has their own story that makes them their own modern-day superhero. Now, even though their journeys may be hard, the Amputee Coalition is there to help each and every single one of them, where their mission is to help empower people affected by limb loss. Some of the ways they help them is by telling them that limb loss is not uncommon, and how it is becoming less uncommon every single day, by telling them that no amputee is ever alone, and finally, helping them cope with the factor of limb loss. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, in 2018, there were 9,100 orthotists and prosthetists in the United States, and that this number is projected to grow by 20% from 2018 to 2028. And because of the work that these orthotists and prosthetists do, they are their own modern-day superheroes. Now, because of Mr. Carroll, I have had the opportunity to interview many different prosthetists, clinicians, and patients, an example of one being Mr. Billy Fletcher, who is a Master 4-H'er. I have also been able to volunteer over 40 hours at a Hanger clinic, where I had the chance to shadow some of the many different clinicians who were working at the clinic. I also had the opportunity to meet and interview some of the many different patients who had come into the clinic, where during each interview I learned a specific factor about wearing a prosthetic. Although the main thing that I learned is technology and its impact that it can have on an individual's life, how you have to find the right prosthetic for each person. And it was after this that I thought back to Mr. Carroll's quote about how you have to get them to feel good about themselves. There are many different conditions that need to be met for a person to wear a prosthetic, although the first being the prosthetic has to fit the individual. One of the patients who had come into the clinic had received the most advanced microprocessor legs, but because they were causing him discomfort and pain, he did not want to wear them. One of the ways Mr. Carroll has helped solve this problem is through his creation of Winter's Gel. Winter's Gel is applied to the residual limb, which can help reduce rash and swelling. The next factor being function and reliability. Another patient had received the most advanced myoelectric prosthetic arm, but he also had a simple passive arm, and due to the fact of a simple battery malfunction, he preferred the passive arm, due to the fact that it had less of a chance of breaking or malfunctioning. For patients who suffer from lower body limb loss, it is crucial that their prosthetics be able to bend at the knee, although they have a much wider variation to choose from for prosthetic feet, ranging from the most advanced microprocessor legs, which can help with movement and stability, to simple cosmetic feet. When all these conditions are met, it allows an amputee to walk with a natural and human-like stride. One of the patients who had received these microprocessor legs, and when all the conditions were met, even told us that he would be able to walk again. For patients who suffer from upper body limb loss, it is important that their prosthetics be able to bend at the elbow, but also be able to rotate at the wrist as well. The diagram here is an example of a myoelectric prosthetic arm, which usually feature electrodes in the prosthetic socket, which reads and recognizes patterns and signals from the residual limb. They also feature a control unit and a battery pack. I was able to interview Taylor Jones, where he showed me how a myoelectric prosthetic arm works. The electrodes in the prosthetic socket reads and recognizes patterns and signals, and it is these signals that are controlling the prosthetic arm that you are seeing now. According to the American Orthotic and Prosthetic Association, it is a proven statistic that patients who receive a higher quality of prosthetic will receive a higher quality of life. And it was after this that I thought back to the children I saw when I was 4 years old, and how they had received such simplistic prosthetics. I had the opportunity to interview Dr. Shane Wardeman, who is the Director of Clinical Research at Hanger Prosthetics, where he shared with me that children only constitute 5 to 10% of the entire prosthetic population. So where do parents go when they have children who suffer from limb loss? Well, ever since Albert Minero, a previous grad student at the University of Central Florida, and the founder of Limitless Solutions, and Robert Downey Jr. presented a young man with his very own prosthetic arm, I have been following Limitless Solutions. Limitless Solutions is a non-profit organization which focuses on creating customizable 3D printed prosthetic limbs for children. Because their prosthetic limbs are 3D printed, this makes them much more cost efficient, where their price can range anywhere from $600 and can be resized for as little as $70, although no child is tasked with paying the price for their prosthetic limb. And because of the work that they do at Limitless Solutions, they are their own modern-day superheroes. Now, I had the opportunity to interview both co-founders, and during this interview, we were able to talk about some of the specific issues that they face with their prosthetics. Limitless Solutions does not only provide prosthetic limbs for children, but it also provides life-changing experiences for the children who get these prosthetic limbs, which not only teaches them how to use their prosthetic limbs, but also how to be more acceptable towards them. And because of this, each child up here is their own modern-day superhero. Now let us revisit the few individuals we heard from at the beginning of my presentation and see how they have become their own modern-day superheroes. Alex Spring was the first of Limitless Solutions Bionics Kids, and after receiving his prosthetic arm at Superhero Day at his school, he now has enough confidence to dress up as himself. Andrew Pifueta was the youngest baby in the world to ever receive a myoelectric prosthetic arm. She has completed a master's degree and has become an advocate for people with limb loss. She has even become a successful actress, even being featured in the movie The Hunger Games. And finally, Christy Ennis, who has become a retired Marine Corps sergeant, who has successfully created her own foundation, which has raised and donated over $1 million to veterans. And in 2019, she was even awarded the SP Awards for her service. I hope these few individuals have inspired you today, and thank you for watching my presentation.